Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here for the Friday Conversation, episode 50. We just finished up another one of our streams. So, thanks everyone for being here, and we'll go ahead and go around the room and introduce everyone. Chris, do you want to go first?
I'll start. So we'll try and make this as long as possible so that you can catch your breath, Steve. Okay. My name's Chris. I sometimes make YouTube videos and appear in streams such as this. And as it turns out, I'm sort of still stuck on Twitter. We were just talking about that off air. So Twitter's kind of where we're all bouncing back to, I think. I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. And Nick, sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm Nick Borrelli. I run the science fiction and fantasy blog Out of This World SFF. I do book reviews, giveaways, cover reveals, and stuff like that. So you want to check it out. I'm also on Twitter. I hang out there quite a bit, so come find me there as well.
Cool. Mihir?
Hey everyone, my name is Mihir Wanchu. I'm part of the Fantasy Book Critic team. Similar to Nick, I'm also a book blogger over at Fantasy Book Critic, where we do interviews, reviews, cover reviews, all that sort of fun stuff. And I get to hang out with all of you. And kudos to you, Steve, for this 50th episode plus on this amazing channel. So that's really amazing. So we hope it continues more and more.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming by. And of course, Mr. Hot Takes himself, the king of hot takes.
Troublemaker.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm just an author who has a lot of hot takes, apparently. I call them my opinions, and generally people go like this. And I'm like, oh, I didn't really think it was that much of a big deal. But that's what it is.
Nice. So sorry I'm running late. We were just finishing up our we wrapped up the Prince of Nothing trilogy with Daniel and Katerina. So we get carried away talking about that series, and I looked at the time. I was like, oh shit, what time is it? So what were we all talking about? Because you all looked like you were having a good conversation before.
Talking about Twitter and Hive and all these places people are running to.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I did try Hive, but I think I posted this somewhere that I felt like it was 1991 and I was on my 2400 baud modem again.
Yeah.
That's really.
I saw your
Smart
tweet.
space.
I saw your tweet. We were just talking about that. Like, amidst all the variables, Hive seems to be decent. At least it looks decent. If they can just get their software and, they can hire people, like Nick mentioned this, like if they can hire more people and get it to be functional, it's a golden opportunity for them to basically get people, from Twitter to Hive maybe. Oh, also, I just want to say quickly hi to Sadir Samir. I see him in the comments. Hey, Sadir.
Hey, Sadir. Nice. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, I think Hive has some potential, but I don't know. It's just it's how many platforms can you really use?
Yeah.
I mean, who has that kind of time?
I'm a one social media focused type person. So before I published, I was on Facebook a lot. I was very active on several groups. I adminned several groups. And then as soon as my book published, I realized nobody on Facebook gave a damn. So I heard about Twitter and I went to Twitter, and that's where all of my effort has gone. I've forgotten about Facebook basically. And Twitter has been amazing for having a book out there, and I do not plan on leaving Twitter unless it blows up and goes away. But I can't imagine spending over $40 billion and then having it disappear. I think that's ridiculous to think that. But you never know, I guess. But right now we all have our communities on Twitter, and it seems like why start over? That's my opinion. I think that Twitter has been fantastic for me, and I don't really want to have to start over. And if you invest, I invest a lot of time on social media because it's I'm trying to write for a living, so you need to be out there, you need to be known. So I feel like I put quite a bit of time into social media, and as somebody who has a ton of free time, I can only handle one platform. Like I don't really know how people do like 6 or whatever. It's not me.
For Nick and Mihir, how much does social media help traffic to your sites? Is it really important, or did you notice a drop if you aren't as active?
Go ahead, Mihir, you go.
Well, thanks, Nick.
I'll go next.
It is really bad. Like Facebook, unless you're in like a really active group, traffic won't come. Like, we have a FVC page. It's like it has more than 2,000 people liking it, but barely even 20 people see when I post something over there. So I just stopped posting over there. Twitter is a lot better. With the enough amount of people following you, you can at least get your people to look at it. So I find that to be very helpful. And of course, like John mentioned as well, there's a writer and there's a reviewer community and there's a reader community as well. Like, you once you find those people, you don't want to leave them. Like I met all of you guys thanks to Twitter. Now I don't want to be able to find new people. Like if Twitter somehow crashes and burns, like John, I hope it doesn't happen. But stranger things have happened. Even if
Right.
24 billion or not. But if it does, then I'll be hard pressed, because like right now on Facebook, I only go to maybe 2 or 3 groups. Like there's the fantasy faction group, there's the SPFPO group, which is really active, and there's maybe grimdark fiction writers, and there's one more fantasy cable. Those are my 4 groups which I just hang out on, and I know people over there, but that's about it.
I'm actually a moderator of the Grimdark group. I just don't post in there much. I feel bad.
You should.
I know. It's just that group is kind of hard to talk much in, I guess. It seems like there's not a ton of activity on a lot of posts. I wish it was a more active group, honestly, because there's a lot of cool people there.
What about you, Nick? Is it pretty important for you and your site?
I mean, for me, it's the majority of my traffic. And we were talking about this before you hopped on. As bad as the algorithm is and how much it suppresses me, like every time I try to amplify anything that I post on my blog, it's still my generator. I mean, most of the traffic, I'd say like 75 to 80% of the traffic comes from Twitter every time I tweet something out, because like you said, that community that we built up is so great and we all support each other. And when you have like your friends retweeting your stuff, and then you have people who may not be your friends or may not be following you, but that are following the people who, are following you, and then they see it and they retweet it, and then it becomes a snowball. So, I mean, if it goes away, it would really hurt me, because I don't get hardly any organic, people off the internet, like stumbling upon my blog, so.
If we think back before Twitter and Facebook, everything was maybe none of you are this old, but GeoCities used to go on the GeoCities browser and stuff, in Yahoo browser, and just kind of go through, topics and try and find something that way. And there's just so much stuff that you've never really getting something that was curated for you. So, having something that is basically recommended by lots of people that is, and as a stream of consciousness, is just perfect.
Yep, I agree.
It is like for John, like for authors to and that you depend on it a lot for your livelihood and for your work. It's scary to think that it could disappear tomorrow, but I think it's important it should be like for all of us, like a reminder that it could go away and we have no control over it. I mean, so to have something else is important, just to have something else, like a website or something that you have control over that they can't take away from you, or someone else can't just flip the switch is important. But
and also, I feel like if Twitter goes away, something else will fill that void. I mean, it may not be, as good as Twitter in the beginning, but, something will take over, and people are smart enough to figure out, hey, we need this thing to be fast. We need this thing to blah, 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 whatever, and something will fill the void. So I'm not too worried about it. I think that it might be, it might be hard for a little while if Twitter goes away, but I think that eventually, something else will fill that, because people crave it. People want, people need that, so it'll come back in some form.
Are you saying people are addicted?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. People are addicted.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like you're not popping on Twitter every 2 seconds, right?
It's tough. I mean, I think these platforms are designed to trigger your brain into wanting to stay on them. Even if you look at what you want to look at, you still find yourself just scrolling. And I mean, they're designed to have your eyeballs. So it's, it can be tough to turn them off and get some reading done.
Plus,
you don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, and it's all the cool stuff. Like, like recently Nick had a wonderful cover review. That was so amazing. Then there's like, sometimes Sean posts all of his, some of his funny takes, or like, you will post something too, because I know you often like retweet a lot of like hitter, maybe not so well-known authors. So I'm always looking out for your posts as well. Like, hey, there's this book, like check this out, or like there's this interview YouTube. Like I'm still new to BookTube, so for me it's like I depend on finding more BookTubers thanks to you and Chris. Maybe they'll be like, oh, this person, or look at this person's interview. So it's designed that way, but also sometimes it helps. Yeah.
And even if Twitter just decided to blow up and go away like right now, I think that pretty much most of the community is integrated enough where, I mean, I think we'll all be able to just say, okay, we're all going here, and
We'll find each
a
other.
place. Yeah, it's I don't think it's gonna be that hard. So I really don't understand like the crazy amount of panic. I just think it's like, guys, settle down. If Twitter goes away, that'll suck. We'll all find each other. It'll be fine.
First world problem, right?
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But
I do think for the other side of the argument, though, when Hive started up, it was kind of nice to just look at, curating a brand new feed of people, because sometimes we get like such a massive list and like you are doom scrolling forever and ever to kind of go, right, could I cut down on a lot of the stuff and get to see more of the stuff I want if I just started fresh again without kind of doing that? So that was fun, at least for the first few days, and then I realized once I added 5 or 6 people, it just took 4 or 5 minutes to load.
It's how slow. It's so slow.
Well,
I hope it improves. I think it.
Yeah.
I like the layout and everything is really nice. It takes forever. I mean, it's just.
I saw a tweet somewhere that somebody, maybe this was a joke, but somebody said like, apparently Hive was only 3 people managing their feed, so that's why it's so slow. I was like,
I
It
think
feels
that
like
is a
it.
joke. I think I heard somewhere that they literally only had like 2 or 3 people working on it, and it was I don't remember if it was Hive or Mastodon actually, but
no, I think it was Hive. I think it was Hive because I was chuckling at that. I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
It's true.
one of them is not funded at all and is like asking its users to give money to them, I think.
But
I
if
don't
you're
know.
Hive, all you're trying to do is trying to get venture capital funding. You're trying to prove that an alternative exists and then go to investors and go, here, this could be yours, be involved in it. So I don't think it takes very much for people to kind of look and go, we could provide an alternative to Twitter at a time when people are looking for an alternative to Twitter in case it breaks down. So actually, I think it's very much a rush for money rather than maybe even trying to say we have a finalized product here. It's a proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I think it's the Post thing. I know there's apparently one more social media platform called Post, which is I think the one which is asking for money or at least donations or
Right.
something like that. Like it's something weird like that. I haven't seen it, but I remember like hearing somewhere about that thing. But it's again too many platforms, and until Twitter literally crashes and burns down, I guess
I think
we
people underestimate how much money it takes to maintain like a social media platform, and that's another reason why I'm just not that worried about Twitter, because it costs a lot to maintain, but the amount of money that like he just sank into it, you're not going to want to let that wash, right? Like that's crazy. Yeah, sure, Twitter might go down for a week or something if something drastically bad happens, but no one's, I don't care how rich you are, I just feel like you're not pissing away $44 billion. Like that's outrageously high. And so, and all his other stock has tanked and everything is like a disaster for him. And so I think that he needs to get Twitter back into a place that is generating revenue so that his the perception of him changes so that all his other businesses are successful again, because they've all kind of taken a dip. And just the investment itself, like you don't want to be known as someone who did that and tanked it, because can you think of a worse business decision if that happens? If tomorrow Twitter was shut down and it was confirmed it wasn't coming back, what was worse than that for a business investment? I don't know that we can think of anything. If you're Elon Musk, you're one of the richest people in the world, you have run all these businesses, do you want that as your reputation? Absolutely not. Think about what Tesla would do. It would be a disaster on so many levels if he just let that happen.
I think more interestingly though, especially because we've got 3 people here who are building a following, if not even just a business, does it just come to a point where you go, right, I have to pay the £8 or $10 or whatever it is a month that they're going to say as a means of joining and keeping up the conversation? Because I think a lot of that's messaging, and I know the platform's free, but at a certain point, for as much as I use Twitter and for as much as I use and engage with it, that kind of money every month isn't exactly going to kill me for what I get out of it, either. If it was just a flat fee to use it, I think it would cut out a lot of the mess actually that we see, rather than just than harming it.
I have a couple of hot takes.
Uh-oh.
Go for it, John.
Brace yourself.
Okay, guys,
Okay, here we
just
go.
hear me out for a second. Charging for Twitter Blue is not a big deal. Okay, I
That's
said
fair.
it.
Okay.
This is why. People are worried that if you have a check mark, you're going to be suppressed. That's not what they're doing. They're just going to put you at the top of replies. Well, for all of us anyway, I can't speak for everyone, obviously.
Mhm.
For anyone in our book community, does that change anything? I would say no. I respond to, if I see it, sometimes Twitter's funny on the notifications. I respond to everyone who responds to like a tweet I make. I want to say I see 90% of replies, because I have caught plenty of like replies that I didn't get a notification for. But I also get a lot of notifications daily. I'm talking like at least 30, maybe 40. I get quite a few notifications.
We get it.
'cause
People like you.
No. People don't like me. I just post a lot. Let's
I'm
not
just
let's not put that out there. I'm not well liked. I'm just well seen. So that's hot take number 1. Hot take number 2,
How many hot takes do you have?
just 2 on this
Okay.
subject. So the
Okay.
first is that
So far,
the first
Reasonable so far.
Yeah, well, a lot of people would disagree. They think that the paying for the check mark is the end of the world. So that's the first hot take. The second hot take is that I use Twitter enough where, and the perception out there is that if you're paying for verification, you're a big problem, which is why I wouldn't want to pay for it right now.
Mhm.
But my hot take is that $8 a month is really not much for what I use it. And so if it's going to help my business, then I don't have a problem with that. And once we get over the hump, because right now verification in general is really looked down upon because of, you're supporting this whole buyout and everyone is, doomsaying Twitter. But once you get past that, being verified as like, this account is actually me, might not be the worst. I haven't had any problems with like bots or clones, but I see people with less followers than I do, and I'm not a big fish. I have like 1,172, I think, which is not much. I see
Humble
people
brag.
with less than 1,000 getting cloned and having people trying to do giveaways and stuff. So that sucks. It's annoying. I wish people didn't do that, but at the same time, you could do the verification to not have that problem, I guess. I think verification in general has a lot of problems with the way that they're doing it, but I think that I think those problems will just change as time goes, right?
I think a lot of the pushback is actually that they've tacked that $8 a month onto a pre-existing feature. The people that kind of
Right.
said you were a celebrity, if they had given it a green tick or even or something to say that this is paid for it, and I know that they've got the notification that if you hover over, you can tell the difference. But I think if they just had done something different rather than tie it into something that was already there, you wouldn't have a problem. Because like you said there, John, I think $8 a month for what you're going to get out of it is good value for money. That's blogging or pushing content or anything like that. It's YouTube Premium as a consumer is what 18 for 12 dollars, whatever it is a month. So all of those things are much more expensive for even just passive consuming.
So here's a counterpoint, and again, John, nothing against you. I like I see your point, and I actually agree with that. I'm trying to think of like what other people who are like actively against it. I'm not talking about the crazies. I'm just talking about like a normal person.
Right.
What I think is like what people are maybe worried about. Like if he's going to charge $8 right now, what if in the future he's like, okay, now I'm going to charge you $8, and if you don't pay it, you can be on the site for free, but then you will only see 50% of your feed, and you'll only see the people who have paid those $8, and or maybe you'll your feed will be slowed down or something like that. So it's like I'm thinking more of like the Facebook way, like the Facebook literally suppresses
Facebook.
like it suppresses your reach, it suppresses what you see, so that they force you to pay money to them. So I think that's what a lot of people are worried about, because let's face it, the businessman, the goal of any business is to make money. And if this guy has spent 43 or 44 billion on it, he needs to make money fast. So I think that's the thing which I think many people are worried about. But again, what do I know? I'm not paying $8.
No,
Yeah.
so I agree with what you said. I think that if those changes were made, that'd be terrible. Obviously, like I don't think that'd be good at all. As it stands right now, I don't
Mhm.
have a problem with it. But yeah, obviously, businesses do like to one up themselves constantly. So, yeah, if they went the route of Facebook, that would suck. Because
Oh, God.
Facebook, I have a page on Facebook. It doesn't have many followers. I No one sees my posts. Pages are crap.
Yeah, I think they're down. I don't think they push pages the way they push
Groups, yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. But our friend Erin is here. Hi, Erin, and she's asking how everyone's week was. The holiday for those of you celebrating. How did that go? Don't all go up first.
Well, I was gonna go, but I don't want to keep talking. You know.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, John.
I had a great week. My brother and his fiance are up here. They're gonna be up here for a month and a half, I think. So that kind of sucks because that means no work on writing or my book or anything. But on the flip side of that, I just got Frosthaven a few days ago, so we've been playing a lot of that, and that's been great.
Awesome.
Nice. What about you, Nick? How'd your week go?
Good. I mean, just running around like usual. I mean, I got two young daughters that I have to take to, different things every night, and that's kind of slowed down now because of the holidays. So, I mean, I'm actually able to, have some time to read, some time to, actually cook dinner and, actually enjoy enjoy things without having to just run around and be like, who am I chauffeuring where like today? And who do I have to pick up? What time? Just give me the schedule. So, but yeah,
the dad life.
it's been good. It's been a good week. It's actually been, even though it's a holiday week, it's been the least stressful in a while. So,
Nice. What about you, Mihir? Did you celebrate?
Not in the traditional way. This year is unfortunately the family all has had the flu. This is after getting, my kids got the flu shot, and then I don't know what happened, but they have gotten. My youngest got it, then my eldest got it, then I got it, then my wife got it. So now it's like literally passing through. So we're just staying at home and keeping ourselves away from my mom because otherwise said we don't want to pass it on to her, but she's working, so that's not fun either. But other than that, we're doing okay. So nothing too bad.
Nice. Well, you, Chris?
Normal week for me. No holiday here at all. But I think one of the points that I came up in the forums, and Nick sort of alluded to it there, this idea around Christmas and Thanksgiving, that many of us over the years continue to do more and more traveling around people. And how nice it is, actually. And one of the nice things about COVID is a lot of people stopped doing that or restricting a little bit. And it changes the whole holiday for when you spend your time with people in one place rather than kind of bouncing around from place to place where you come back exhausted. You don't actually enjoy the holiday as much, but actually just enjoying it with the people that you care about or are close to, is kind of a really nice thing that I see happening more these days.
I have another hot take in response to you, Chris.
You were just, how many of these are we going to get tonight?
Did you write down before
No, you just brought up 2020, and a lot of people hated that year, and that was maybe my favorite year I've ever lived.
Oh God.
Yeah. Why, you might ask? It's not, I'm not a fan of COVID.
It's not because millions of people died.
No. I obviously it was a pandemic. It was a tragedy. I didn't like any of that stuff. But for me, I quit my job, which I hated. I started writing, which I love. Everyone had to stay at home, which meant I didn't have to interact with people, which I love. I didn't have to go anywhere. I got to stay home, which I love. So there was just so many things that, and also that's when I played Gloomhaven, which was amazing. So there was just so many things that happened in that year that I loved. Obviously, the bad things, some of the inconveniences of shopping or going places was a pain in the ass, and I didn't like that. But overall, I loved it because it was like everyone stay at home. I want to stay home. That's my jam. I love being at home. I love not having to talk to people. That was one of the best excuses. I can't go over there. There's COVID, and I'm trying to be, respectful and social distance.
John,
It was great. I loved it.
my wife and I were just talking about this last night, and we were talking about how like everybody was like, "Oh, I can't wait to go back to the office," and blah, 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 and oh my gosh, I can't wait till it's all over. And I was like, I was home for 500 days, okay, 500 days from my job, okay, and so my wife was a little less than I was, I think, and let me tell you, it was the best time of my entire life. I mean, I was like, wait, I don't have to go anywhere. I could just stay inside. I was like, and just hole up and like read and like watch movies all day and do my work from home and like sit out on my back deck and have a meeting with like a beer off to the side. I'm like, what? Sign me up. Can I get 500 more days of this? Like, really? Like, it was amazing. I was like,
Yeah,
I loved it.
It's great. If you're like introverted or I don't like
I don't
to
like
call
people.
myself
Yeah, it was
introverted.
great.
I'm like an extroverted introvert, so I can like pretend to be extroverted. I can do things. It doesn't like kill me, but I really just prefer a lot of my alone time. I just like not having to do that, and that's why I loved it. I'm a home person anyway. Like, if you are asking me, hey, do you want to go to the bowling alley or do you want to stay home and do basically anything? I'll probably choose the anything. I just prefer that.
The one good thing about this, whole thing, like John, you're pointing it out, like, people suddenly realize that you don't really have to go to office to do your work. Like, you can literally do your work from home. Like, the previous excuse was like, no, you have to come into the office.
Yeah.
You have to wear professional clothes. You have to be this way. That just all blew out of the window. Like, like after 2 years or still ongoing, it's like, do you really have to go? Like, I haven't been into my office space now for more than 2.5 years. I don't want to go as well. Again, I like my job a lot. Like, I have to talk to people and everything. I like that, but I still talk to people every day. Like, and that still works. So, like, why? In fuel cost, parking, all of that other not so fun stuff.
You waste so much time traveling too. Yeah. And it's so funny because when that happened, not everyone, but a lot of businesses were panicking. The schools were panicking. A lot of places were like, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do?" And it took like 2 weeks, and they knew everything that they were gonna do. And it was like, "Oh man, can we just keep doing this?" Like,
Jonathan had a comment. If you follow a crap ton of people on Twitter, then your main feed must be directionless for the most part. I think the algorithm takes care of a lot of that. I think it'll put people in front of you who they think it thinks you want to see, or people that you normally interact with. So you can follow 5,000 people and you'll still see the same 20 people in your feed. You won't see that much of a difference.
that's true. I think it prioritizes people that you interact with. I have this rule. When I joined Twitter, I was like, I'm only going to like follow very specific people. And so I don't follow that many people. And I think that annoys some people that I don't follow them back. But like, if you're not going to interact with me, I don't want to follow you.
Yeah.
And so I'm very picky about that. I usually follow back like reviewers because I want that content, like reviews of books that I haven't read. If they read my book, I want to see that. So that's why I don't just follow a lot of people back, because I don't want to clog the feed up. But like Steve said, a lot of it fixes itself with the algorithm.
It's wild.
That algorithm's rough, man.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
crazy.
I'll tweet something out sometimes, and it'll be 2 hours that it's been tweeted out, and I'll have like 40 impressions. Like, it's nothing. And then one person will retweet it, and it'll jump up, but it's until that first person gets to it. Oh my gosh, it's almost like it's like floating in the wind somewhere. It's like nobody sees it.
The best way to get interactions on book Twitter is to ask, are audiobooks reading?
Oh no, it goes
And
back to the same 3 Twitter arguments thing.
You'll get 1,000 interactions of that, just with that one tweet.
Gosh.
Yeah, whenever I see that, I was like, oh, here we go again.
I break out in hives every time I see that.
Yeah.
Going on and on and on and on.
That, and there's 2 or 3 other ones that I'm just like, oh no, not again.
The Die Hard one.
That's a totally different ball of wax. That's not book Twitter. That's just annoying every year. I mean, it's like, come on, we've been talking about this for 30-something years.
That
I don't even care if Die Hard's a
the
Christmas
Denzel
movie
Washington
anymore.
meme, like people will just like whenever something like starts becoming a trending topic, it's like the first person to post a Denzel Washington meme of clutching his chest. Like I wish there was a way to block certain memes. I just don't want to see those memes anymore. Like I wish this is something that they would just it's like too many times. Like it's become beyond cliche now. It's like you just need to block certain memes. Like nobody can post them, or you at least can't see them.
There's your $8 a month value right there.
You know what? I pay $8 a month to not have the same book Twitter arguments like show up on my feed. That is well worth the $8.
Yeah.
Or Malazan, like maybe less Malazan recommendation. Sorry, Steve, I know you like Malazan, but I'm just saying, like as a non-Malazan lover, sometimes it can just get too much when people just keep on talking about Malazan,
Yes.
Malazan.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I have a announcement to make here in a minute. But our friend Layla's here. All the sites have their ups and downs, but I've had too many positive interactions on Twitter. Nothing has changed for me yet. If it does, oh well. At least I didn't spend $44 billion.
That's right.
So Layla popped up, and actually, I just confirmed this week because Layla and I had been reading House of Chains together, and I emailed Steven Erickson if he would join us to discuss House of Chains. So he's joining us on the 10th of December.
Oh wow, that's pretty
to
cool,
discuss
man.
House of Chains. Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome.
So maybe he can help me understand what's going on because
I can't with me here and I.
Another hot take.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'm gonna jump in the comments just to troll you guys over there.
Well, I really liked book one of that book because it's one POV, and I loved it. And then it gets back to all the different. So I just get lost. I start to get buried in all these different points of view, and I just get like confused. So
You made it farther than I did.
Steve,
trying.
wait a minute. So you're reading. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Is it Malazan? I don't know. I don't know
either.
Anybody.
I have no idea.
Okay, well, whatever it's called, you're reading that, and also the Prince of Nothing series.
Well,
Are you trying to kill yourself?
Apparently so. No, well, what helps is that we're reading Prince of Nothing. It's about 100 pages a week is our goal, and then with Malazan, we're reading like 300 pages every 3 or 4 weeks. So it's spread out really far.
Steve, that's still a lot. Like 100 pages of R. Scott Bakker is not for like it's he's dense. Like he's very dense, and Prince of Nothing, all 3 books. Yeah.
And he reads other books in addition to these.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, like I like his work. Like I actually prefer his work over Steven Erickson, but like his books are so dense. Ah, yes. Kudos. Sense of Darkness.
I'll be ready for Sunday.
Yes. Again, not as complex as Malazan or
Prince of Nothing. No, not at all.
Like there's nothing. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I don't think there's anything as complex as Prince of Nothing, because there's so much philosophy and other stuff, jammed in the book. If you read it, you always pick up new things, and it's like I've read it 3 times. It still blows it makes my head hurt every time, but it still blows my mind. It's that good.
It's like it's the only series that I feel like you need to do homework outside of reading the book to understand it. It's like, okay,
exactly.
Now I need to go over here and go on this wiki page and read up on this entire race of people or whatever. It's like, because it's like you're reading the book and you don't feel like you understand, and you're like, it's so hard. It's like you're wading through this. It's great. It's great. The stuff you understand, you're like, when it clicks, you're finally like, oh yeah, that's what that was about. But it's like, to get there, is just
that sounds awful.
John would hate that.
I would.
It's really good, John. Like the first book.
That's another hot take.
I just don't like books that you need to research.
No. I don't read a lot of them. Every once in a while, I don't read constant. Like, I can't read those books all the time, but every once in a while, one of those series hits the spot. But and then I just need to read like something stupid, like, I don't know, like David Eddings or something. I don't know, like something like
something really light. So, John, to Nick's point, because the lore is so rich, like it goes back thousands of years. There's like the non-men, which is like kind of like the elves of that world. There's the men, but before the men, there is a non-men history which sprang for like thousands of years. Then something happened which caused certain things. It's just like, and the forum which he's talking about, like there's a second seas, I think, forum, R. Scott Bakker or official forums. there's like people who do deep dives of this stuff. Like, they'll just go and post their theories, or they'll just basically take it from the books and say, okay, look, this book, this paragraph in this book combined with this one makes it this, and this is what he was, this is what he's saying because in this interview he mentioned this. It's really fascinating. But yeah, to Nick's point again, you can only do it for a certain time. After that, you need something light. You cannot stay in that world for long. It will crush you. I mean, unless you love that sort of stuff, that's a different story. But
that sounds pretty intense.
It is.
Yes.
Malazan, I can't do. I haven't tried Prince of Nothing. Maybe.
I think you'd like it.
I don't know, man. I keep hearing all these things like what they just talked about, and I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Well, you also have our podcast that we did with Katerina and Daniel to help you through. So you
4
can,
chapters at a time, John. Like
yeah.
you could do the first 4 chapters.
Yeah.
And just notice the first book, it's confusing almost till the very end, because the first book was literally the prologue of what he was originally writing, and then he expanded the prologue into the whole book. That's
I'm so
literally
confused. Isn't that why you didn't read Malazan?
No.
The prologue is insane. We still go back to the prologue throughout the trilogy. There's so much in that prologue. It's mind blowing what he did with that prologue.
Yeah.
Cool.
But our friend Danielle is here, Bakara, or there could be a limit on likes or comments, or something like that, like it on a dating app.
I like that.
Dating apps are like the worst when it comes to the monetization thing. So why wouldn't Twitter become that? That's like if you're trying to make money, it's a brilliant way of doing it. Don't do it though.
I think at this point, Elon Musk is trying to make money from every angle of Twitter. Like whatever is not thought of, he's going to try to make money. So we'll see. Maybe he'll come make it a dating / reading / news / anything app.
Well, I know that a lot of people say they won't pay the $8, but I think it's a lot. I think a lot of people say they will. Just imagine how much money that thing would generate with $8 a month for everyone who's using. I mean, it'd be insane. But
yeah, once you get past the negative perception of it, I think there could be a lot.
You've got to add value rather than restrict value. That's always the key for those things, for getting people to pay, the money.
Yeah. And now we get to answer emails in our jammies.
Yes.
I can't tell you how awesome it is. Even some days, to even only have to dress in the top half. It's just amazing. It's so good for mental health.
I don't have to wear ties. That's been a lovely thing.
Yeah.
Ugh, ties, they're the worst.
And Aaron had a comment that I think it's important to mention. Many students struggled with online, though. They didn't have the discipline or self-study. It's probably helped some younger students start to develop these skills earlier, though. So I think a lot of kids are way behind. They're doing some studies now that kids are a couple of years behind where they should be. So that's a little scary.
And that's not just students either. That's just people in general. You either have the self-motivation or you just don't. That's like
no. So he's right, John. Like there's an article about this. Like Sweden had kept their schools open, so the Swedish kids are a lot less behind. But it's, and you can't expect these kids who are going to kindergarten or first grade. They have been given this iPad. They've been told go over here and click on this. It's hard, right? You're a kid that age.
Right.
You don't want to listen to. You don't want to listen to your teacher in person. Even sometimes that's hard as well. But online, it's just trickier for them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying that I think for not just students though, even people that worked at home, it was harder to summon the motivation for some of them. But I think that it's just, if you're the type of person that can do that, then it's great. And if you're someone that needs to go, like my sister and I are very opposite. I can stay at home. If I have work to do, I can make myself do it and do it before the deadline at home. I don't know if she would struggle with that part, but she kind of has the opposite problem where she works too much if she does stuff from home. But she's very much I really want to get back out there, go to my actual job, go to wherever, out to dinner, just go out and do stuff. And so 2020 killed her. She hated it. But I loved it. So I think it just, a lot of it depends on just who you are as a person. But for school, I would not want to do online school.
Yeah, it's very much my area of
High school.
professional professional responsibility. This is what I do for a living, and the idea that online school for the masses is a good thing is just completely bunk. And if you can even think about yourself in meetings, in your Teams meetings, Zoom meetings in the house, we often have a TV on the background, and say I get put in a breakout room, nearly the first question from everybody that's even there professionally is, what were we just asked to do? You know, your attention is divided in a way that it wouldn't be if you were sitting in the same room with other people and there was a focal point to look at. So
it works. Yeah, it works well for online, like college. I've done online college. That's how I got my degree. Admittedly, you can fudge a lot of stuff on online college, and that's probably how I got through it. But
they're listening. You're listening.
I don't care. I got my degree already. Screw them.
Go and knock on your door.
But yeah, the nice thing about my college was that you could actually, they had this chart for every class, and you could input different grades, and then you could calculate your grade. So I would skip different assignments, and I'd just take the low B, high C, and I'd be fine. Graduate with that. I'm one of those people that like has a really hard time actually doing work for school. I had moments where I tried, and I was always on the president's list. So I'm not like an idiot. I'm just fucking lazy. So I skip a lot of homework. Yeah, so it is what it is. I just don't like schoolwork because it's all the same. How many times do I need to write a 5-page paper with 3 references? It's fucking insane. So when you do that 40 times, there comes a time where you're just like, okay, I'm over this.
3 references isn't enough, John. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, it's just every paper. And then once you figure out the formula that they're looking for, you'll get an A on every single paper.
I mean, there's no doubt there's a formula for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got A's on every single paper I ever wrote once I figured out what you have to do. I did my research on every paper the same way. I went to Wikipedia. I've learned about the subject. Then I found the information that I needed to quote in a different article somewhere else because you can't cite Wikipedia. And then, I'd find the quotes to just throw in to kind of bolster my paper already. And then, boom, done. And it's just a waste of time. It's so boring. I hate college. But that
there's a college student out there taking notes right now, trying to get over it.
One will DM later.
Yeah. It also helps if you can write as well as an author. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, let's be honest. I'm a shit writer, but
that's definitely not true because I'm reading your book at the moment, and that is inherently not true. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Chris.
We shall talk later.
And, speaking of John's book, we are meeting next month to discuss John's book. So anyone is welcome to join. All the information is on our forum if you want to join us as RSVP for that event.
I think that was decided to be December 17th.
I think so. Yeah, it's like middle of December. Yeah. But Johnny Douglas is here. Thank you, John, for the super chat. The best thing about the day after Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving leftovers and writing epic fantasy. Hail. Yeah.
John's a good dude. I've interacted.
John's all over my Twitter feed.
Yeah.
I like John.
Sidir said, that's awesome. I met Steven Erickson at Worldcon in Dublin in 2019. He's super nice. He also said he might steal my name and use it in a future Malazan book.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's your set for life if you're mentioned in a book. Which Mihir, you've been in a book, in a couple books, right?
Yes, I've been lucky. Basically, I beg authors to put me in books. That's my secret. And after like a definite amount of begging, they're like, okay, this guy's not gonna go away, so they put me in, and they kill me off really soon. So I've been glad.
That's funny. I just killed some people in
what
the second book that I wrote.
Oh.
They were not. Yeah,
Wait, we're gonna use this as evidence.
It was my 3 alpha readers for the Trials of Ashmount. The first 3 that read it, they were all like, "Hey, put me in the book." I was like, "Okay." So I murdered all of them. It was great.
Nice. It's perfect. Jonathan has a hot take of his own. Hot take: dating apps equal dumpster diving for love.
Okay, so Yes, but I will also preface this with saying that every once in a while, there's a couple that comes out of them, and they're super happy. But as a overall whole, I'm a strong advocate for maybe don't use dating apps because there's a lot of well, how do you put this nicely? There's just a lot of shit on them. You got the spammers, the bots, the pornographers. You know, you got. It's really
What
hard
apps
to
are you
find.
using?
The Friday crowd.
Steve, have you ever used the dating app? Half
No,
of the
they're-
messages
they're-
that you get are just spam for cams.
No, I think back when we didn't have dating apps back when I was single. I think we had just like
Oh, okay.
like message boards and stuff. Maybe I think that was the
pro
most.
boards?
And
Those were-
even that was not that. It was like on.
Oh,
I don't want to go too far back, but it's been a while. So yeah, I don't envy you guys. It's tough.
Here's some fun stuff for you. I come from India. There we have this concept of arranged marriage over there, where literally in some families, your parents will decide for you, and you literally will see your bride on the day of the wedding. Like I thankfully didn't have that, but
yeah.
there's stuff like that as well. Like that, I mean, that's a whole another tricky scenario. But yeah.
So who picks the bride? Does your family pick it, or how does?
Yeah,
or is
your
it
family picks it after
prearranged?
matching the astrological charts, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff. So there's people who prefer geographical locations, people who prefer just the same caste, people who prefer same profession, people who and all of it is governed by the astrological charts because there's apparently like a 36-point scale, and if it's 18 and above, that means it's decent. If it's 25 and above, that means it's good. 13 and above, that means it's excellent. So
I couldn't do that, but I respect the culture. I actually know somebody who lives in Pakistan, I think, and they do the match. I don't think that they meet them on the wedding day. I think they meet them for a first date. They go on a second date. She explained it to me. And then they go on a third date. And I think after that, they decide whether or not to get married. It's something like that. She is maybe a more progressive person that lives there and doesn't necessarily follow all the religious customs. So I guess she tried the dating without that. Last time I talked to her, so this was a while ago. I don't really talk to her frequently, but last time I talked to her, she was like, "Yeah, I'm done with that. I'm letting my parents make me a match." And I'm just like, whew.
Yep.
All right. I mean, if that's what you want, cool. I could never do that. I think that I mean, you never know. I guess maybe they pick the right person for you, but I am a picky motherfucker, and so I think I would have a problem with it.
We had a question for Chris from Austin. Where do you live, Chris?
I live in Northern Ireland, although tonight I'm in Dublin, actually. Funny enough, I'm down there helping my wife looking after my nieces and nephews. So I'm in a different location tonight, but hey, the internet's great, isn't it?
I was going to ask you, your background is different from the last time I remember.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I'm in my brother-in-law's office. So yeah, it's all his paraphernalia.
So do you have a comment? Mihir might be in my next book, just saying.
Yes. And for those, Sadir's next book is released. Actually, Sadir's debut is releasing just next week. On the 29th. This is The Crew.
Yep.
It's like Kings of the Wild meets Deadpool. It's absolutely bonkers. It's absolutely funny. And I mean, it's the humor is a little bit on the risque side. Like if you're easily offended, don't read that book. But if you like Deadpool or if you like Kings of the Wild, this is going to be your jam.
I've seen that book cover all over Twitter for the last 2 weeks. It must be from yourself, and
it's gorgeous. Like, and it runs all the way behind. And the best part is these are all characters from the book. Like this guy is called Warcade. He's the main character. Then there's there's a toad called Mozzarella. I don't know if you can see that, but it's gorgeous in person. Like the artist, beautiful.
Yeah,
can't say good things about it. Enough good things about it.
And Aaron is really looking forward to starting Trials of Ashmount next week and to be ready for our discussion.
Awesome. Hopefully it's not hated.
So, Nick, you had a cover reveal. What was your cover that you revealed this week?
Oh God, what was it?
I'm
sorry. Gosh, like I wasn't expecting that question.
Oh, sorry. We're talking about covers, so.
No, it was Rob J. Hayes. It was his.
Yeah,
Quick
I'm
Five
sorry.
Award Journal.
Yeah, Rob Hayes' cover for for Death's Beating Heart. I do so many of them, I can't remember sometimes. But yeah, thank you for jogging my memory, Mayor.
No, it's
Rob's
hard to
gonna kill
keep
me
track.
But yeah, just a great cover. I mean, Felix Ortiz did it with Sean King, and
Mhm.
I mean, their covers are just out of this. I mean, they're crazy. And this one was another one. I couldn't wait to reveal it. I had it for like a week, and I knew Mihir had seen it first. I was
I
like,
hadn't seen the
wow,
finished
I know
product. I'd only
someone
seen
else is-
Felix's part. I hadn't
What's
seen the
that?
finished product with Sean. Like I hadn't seen the finished product. I'd just seen like the artwork with
Okay.
Felix had sent. So I was
So
also
I'm
curious
like-
to see it as well.
Yeah, so I was like, I was sitting on it, and I just couldn't wait to reveal it because it was just, I mean, it's stunning. Everything Felix does is just
Mhm.
crazy. It's so good.
I'm so excited for that book.
Oh, I'm waiting for my arc. Rob, where's my arc? No, I'm just kidding.
Great series.
And speaking of prearranged marriages, has anyone heard of Married at First Sight? Reality TV does arranged marriages.
Here's the thing. My sister loves that show.
Oh, lots of people love that show.
I cannot even, that they're going to pair you with someone on purpose to make good TV, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't trust it.
but I also think that people that go on it are going on knowing that. I mean, surely. I mean, people aren't really taking it as a serious endeavor.
Didn't you guys see that there's a series on Netflix about Indian matchmaking? Have you guys heard of that?
I have not.
You should check it out. It's literally the best. Well, it's a reality TV, so anyway, it's a good example of how matchmaking is an official business. Like in India, there are people whose sole job is basically to have these folders and folders or binders and binders of prospective grooms and brides, and all laid out by age, religion, caste, and everything, and location. And so if you just want to see how weird and hilarious it can get, there's an Indian matchmaking show on Netflix. Just check it out. And the lady who actually is like the matchmaker in that, she's kind of like the Devil Wears Prada person, in on the Indian side. So
I need to get in contact with her, I guess.
she charges a lot.
Oh boy. Well, maybe when I finish my series, I'll have earned enough money to hire her.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be cheaper than an editor. Might be cheaper.
Maybe.
When you finish your series and that series is successful enough, you'll have your own Netflix show. It'll be the new episode of The Bachelor or something like that, John. It'll be sort.
Oh boy. That's such a weird concept. The whole 30 girls or whatever falling in love with you and you trying them out.
You're gonna get in trouble.
Well, that's just kind of what happens, honestly.
Isn't that the concept of Bachelor or Bachelorette? I've never seen that show, but that's the concept of Bachelor and Bachelorette, right?
Yeah, it's like one. So they have, depending on the show, so it would be like me, and I'm trying to find love, apparently. And then they bring in 20 girls or whatever, and then every week I eliminate one or two of them. And, you go on dates with a couple of them. So I pick the best looking ones. I go on a couple dates, and then maybe one of them comes back to my room, and I get to experience a test drive.
It's a great idea for Grimdark Fantasy series. Just throw that out there.
Testing out your champion.
You have to wonder what people's mental state is after being in an experience like that. I mean, to be a contestant, your mind must be really warped by the time you walk out of that place, and the time you have between that and the reveal when the series is out for everyone to watch. I mean, it must be a weird, really just being in a fishbowl kind of thing.
I can't imagine. I wouldn't do it. I'm like one of those people that's like, I like one person and I don't want to even think about talking to another person, which is why dating apps don't work with me, because most people are like, here's my 20 people I'm talking to, and I like this one, and now I don't like you anymore because I just met Frank, and it's like, fuck Frank.
So Sadir had a comment. Mihir, your check will be in the mail.
Awesome. It's gonna take a long time from Sweden.
I have this really unreasonable amount of guilt to receive books from authors for free. I feel really guilty about it.
You and me both.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Why?
We get
Why?
we get the arcs from Kane the other day, and I was like, right, I'm gonna go on, and I can't buy the new book, so I'll buy his old book and paper book, for you having received this kind of thing. So, yeah.
And
Yeah,
plus
I'm sorry, Mihir, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I just for the author to have to pay the money for shipping and do the trouble to ship it. I just have this like guilt of you guys having to do that.
I guess, but we're also kind of like trying to get you to review it. So here, take it for free.
I know, but it's like I totally get what Nick and Steve are saying, because it's like it's hard to find the time as well, right? Because invariably you're going to have like a book slump, or you're looking for something else to read, or you're waiting for somebody else, like you're waiting for this book to pop as well. And then when you've given the time, when you said to this person like, oh no, I'll read your book, but then if it's not clicking for you for some reason, then that's the worst thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. I feel like if I'm not a book like reviewer like you guys are. I review books that I decide to buy. And if someone sent me a book and for review, and I fucking hated it, I don't know how I do that. I mean, it'd be hard because I feel obligated to finish it and write the review, but it's hard for me to push through a book that I hate. So I don't know that I could do that. And then what? I don't know. That's and I know everyone handles it differently, but I don't know what I would do.
So I've had that experience before. And I had someone send me a book, and I was all into it, and it just, for whatever reason, it just fell flat. I don't know if it wasn't the right time for me to read it. I don't know. It wasn't particularly bad. It was just not, I wasn't feeling it. So I actually just reached out to the author and said, look, I appreciate you sending me this, but I'm not going to finish it right now. I'm like, it was almost like it's not me, it's you. I mean, it's not you, it's me kind of thing, right? Right. It almost felt like that, right? But I didn't want to leave it out there and just be like, well, I thought he was reading my book, and now all of a sudden he's reading something else, right? It's just kind of awkward, right? Yeah. So I did actually reach out to him and say, look, the book's just not hitting with me. I might try it sometime down the road and see if it works better. But for right now, I'm just not gonna read it and review it. I'm just gonna leave it and come back to it later. And I may, at some point I may read it later, and it may work for me. But I reached out because I just felt bad. It feels weird to, have someone send you a book and then they know you're reading it because you're saying on Twitter that you're reading it, and then all of a sudden you're reading something else. So
yeah. So
what happened, right? So I just kind of wanted to be like, look, just explain myself almost. I like Steve said, it's like a guilt thing, and it's like, I don't know. I'm a one-person blog. It's hard, I can't like divvy these up and send them to people and be like, oh, I just got this. When people send me stuff, it's like I may not get to it for a while. So it feels, I feel that guilt too. Like, read faster, Nick. So it's kind of, it's a tough call, tough situation.
Yeah, Nick, just let go of your family, let go of your job, just keep reading. That's the only way to do it. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, from an author point of view, I think that's the right move, is to let them know. Because I had one person DNF my book. The first reviewer that started reading it DNF'd. I was like, oh my god, that sucks. Everyone's gonna hate this book. And he DNF'd, and he told me that, and I was like, okay, cool. But then, yeah, I'm like the crazy stalker who, when I find out someone's reading it or they have it and they want to read it, I'm like,
now I'm going to put off reading your book now for a while.
I mean, like, I look at their Goodreads, and if they're updating the pages, then I know. And not everyone does that, but a lot of reviewers do update like where they are in the pages, and I'm like, oh boy, like they're reading it, and then all of a sudden They get I don't know, I'm just gonna say a random page, 256 pages in, and then all of a sudden they're now currently reading something else, and then either your book disappears or gets slotted into like maybe the DNF slot or whatever, and that
Hey, it's not
is
on the shelf
annoying.
anymore. What
If they,
happened?
yeah, and it's fine. I'm not upset when people aren't vibing with my book, because I don't vibe with books, so I get that. But with first of all, with some of them that just do that, I just wish they'd tell me, because some of them don't track their books the same, and so just knowing I'm not going to finish your book, it's not working for me. Cool, I have no problem with that. Now I also know that a lot of authors are assholes, so I get why maybe people don't reach out all the time, and I'm not super like, I don't think that you have to reach out. I would, for as an author, I would really appreciate it myself. I'm not going to be upset or attack anyone, but I understand that a lot of people do. My biggest thing is I've gotten a few people who have said, I didn't finish your book because there was this brutal bad thing that happened. And I'm like, that's
Because of your hot
fine,
takes.
but you knew it was grimdark. If you have some sort of serious, like, I don't want to read a book where this happens, and you know that it's a grimdark book, why would you not ask about said thing? That's my
Mm-hmm.
only thing, because I send out quite a few books to people, and I always advertise it as grimdark. Some people disagree. Some people say it's not grimdark, and that's fine. But I advertise it that way on purpose, because if you have a serious thing, like I don't know, I'm making something up. Let's go to the common one. I don't have this in my book, but if you don't like sexual assault on page, and you know the book is grimdark, would not your first question be, does this have strong sexual assault on it? That would be my first question. I would ask that, and maybe I'm overreaching and thinking that people should do that. I don't know. All I know that, like, if I was a reviewer and that was like a trigger for me, and I don't have any problem with anything in fiction at all. I don't get bothered. But if I did, and someone said this is grimdark, I think my first question would be like, hey, I can't handle like this. Does it have it? Rather than going through this whole process and then, DNFing because I haven't. It's like, if only you just told me, I would have told you, and then we wouldn't have this issue. And so I don't want to sound super critical or, and I'm not upset by it, but it costs at least like $30 to send a physical book out by the time you pay for the shipping and you pay for the actual book, and that sucks. So that's my request, I guess, is I would like, if I sent it out to a reviewer, they know it's grimdark already, I would just, if you had a problem with something, let me know and I'll tell you. But otherwise, I don't have a problem if people just don't vibe with the book. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's healthy to DNF.
John, you're one of the rare ones in this regard, because I know Nick and me, we have had a few experiences where authors sometimes they're not outright being assholeish, but they'll be like, you can't really tell them like it didn't work for you, because then it's the same, it's not you, it's me thing. Because then if you tell them like, hey, this part didn't work, well, why didn't it work for you? Or like, because I had authors who would email me like, hey, this book is similar to the ones which you like. Or like David Gemmell. Like, I'm a sucker for David Gemmell. If somebody mentions David Gemmell to me, I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. I've been suckered in too many times, and I still I'm still. I'll probably be a sucker till the day I die. Like, if somebody mentions, hey, this book is like David Gemmell, I'm like, okay, give it over. And sometimes it's not, and I wish I could tell them, like, I don't want to be rude, right? Because I'm like, okay, this is not like David Gemmell, so. It's one of those things. Some authors are much more nice. Like, I know I want to put a shout out to Michael R. Fletcher, because I know he does this. He'll send the book to you, and then it'll be crickets from him. He'll be like, if you review it, great.
Yeah.
If you don't review it, it's okay. I'm not gonna bother you.
Yeah.
I think that approach is really nice, and I know not every author can do that, because of course with newer authors, it's the anticipation of like, hey, somebody is reading my book, and also if you're sent a physical copy, like Nick mentioned, the guilt factor is strong amongst the reviewers. Like if somebody spent that much money, you should at least attempt to try to finish it, and then at least try to write a review. It's hard, but
I I just want to say also, I'm the same as Fletcher. Like, if I send you my book, I'm not going to bother you because I think that's super unprofessional. Like, even if you're a newer author, I get it. You want the review. I want the review, right? I'm a newer author. I've done okay, I think, at getting it out there, and getting reviews. But there's been plenty of people I've sent it to and haven't gotten a. But I'm not gonna bug them because it's just, I don't know. It just feels scummy to me, and I don't mean that to offend anyone that does reach out. If you do it politely, I think that's okay. I would just advocate maybe don't.
But it probably works both ways, John. Insofar as like you're obviously writing your second book now. If you send somebody a book and haven't got round to reading it yet, you're not going to follow them up for book 2 either. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna curate
Right.
people who you engage with you beforehand. So
Yeah, exactly. The people that I sent the first book to who haven't read it and haven't said anything to me, I obviously am not going to send book 2 as to them as well. Unless they, I also understand that TBRs are ridiculous and some people do wait. And that's okay. So if I sent my book to one of you guys and you're like, I haven't read it yet, and then book 2 is coming out, and you're like, hey, can I get book 2? I'm gonna jump in now. Then sure, I'm all for that, right? I get the waiting. My own TBR, and I'm a super picky reader. I'm not like you guys who'll read anything. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
If it has a
guys.
pretty cover, I'm all over it.
I'm just saying that I have a TBR stack right next to me that has 10 books maybe. I have another stack in another room that maybe has 10 more. Some of these are the start to a series, so the TBR is bigger. But I know that you guys have TBRs of, I don't know, thousands of books.
Those
I
are
don't
rookie
really
numbers,
know.
John.
Seems like thousands.
Right, exactly. I am a super small, super focused reader that tries to buy and read exactly what I like, and I don't like a lot when it comes to reading. So, and I understand that. I'm very focused. For someone, basically everyone else on this podcast, that maybe has a wider range, because I know that mine is like the most narrow thing that exists. Plus, you guys are reviewers, and I think that naturally, as a reviewer, you're going to expand your view a little bit more than maybe you would if you weren't reviewing, because you need to constantly put out content. I don't have that issue. I just review when I want and what I want because I'm not an established reviewer. I think that for you guys, it's really hard to interject a new book because it's just your piles are so big. So waiting is not a problem for me. And I know some authors are very impatient, and I get that. But I don't think you should bother the reviewers. It's not good practice. Michael Fletcher, everyone.
Yes.
You listen to him. He knows what he's doing.
Be
It's
like
the
Mike.
smart way. That's my philosophy too. I followed his rules because it just makes the most sense. And no one likes being bothered, even if it's polite, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one likes it. So I think that's the smart way to go. Don't bother anyone.
So do you have a comment? Don't feel guilty about that. We can't do what we do without all of you bloggers and book lovers. I think of the books I send out as gifts, it would have no expectations. Yeah, that's again just another similar to Fletcher, kind of his outlook on it is. It's easier for us to, even with Fletcher, it's like I'll take in an ebook, but don't send me a physical book. I'll read the ebook, and if I like it, I'll buy the physical book. And I'm really, really picky about what books I do get, because unless I'm really sure I'm gonna like it, I don't want to. I'll buy it, and then if I don't get to it, then it's on me. So
yeah, you get less guilt that way, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Aaron had a comment. I've heard people say they won't review DNF books online as it's not fair to the author. What's your take on this one, Chris?
this is completely me as well. So much happens in books at the very end. Books, movies, TV shows, everything. The ending, run up to the end, can totally change my view on whether I liked or something, disliked something the whole way through. Because really, the whole point before that is the point where the author's playing with you. You know, everything just playing with you can intensely be making you feel down and in the dumps about something to give you redemption at the end or otherwise. So if you don't finish the book, what are you doing reviewing it? Other than you can give comments directly to the author, but like John was saying, I've done some of that. But posting a review online and something you didn't actually get the end to, like, I don't understand the logic behind that. What you're really even hoping to achieve by doing that.
Well, you, Nick, do you review books you DNF?
No. No, I don't. I just kind of like want to walk away from that experience and just leave it behind. I mean, it's pointless. What is it really accomplish? I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like I can't review a book that I didn't read all the way through because, like, like Chris was saying, like something could happen at the end, like, right? But there may be something that's not working for me, like maybe the writing style, or I don't know, just like the certain things bother me in a book, and then I'll just nitpick it the whole time. I mean, it could be something stupid, and then it'll get so distracting. I'm like, I can't read this book anymore, So yeah, but it doesn't mean that the story's bad. I didn't like the writing style. I didn't like something about the book that may not have pertained to the story. So I'm not going to review a book, after that. I'll just leave it, move on.
Mm-hmm.
William, here, do you review DNF books?
Oh no, like same like Nick. If it's a DNF, I try not to DNF books unless something gets really bad, and then I'll just keep set it aside. Like I won't even rate it on Goodreads. I did one mistake once. I actually created like a DNF tag on Goodreads and I DNF'd a book, and the author saw it and he contacted me and he was like, "Why did you do that?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, but the book didn't work for me. I apologize. I didn't mean to, it was not meant as an insult to you." But so after that, I've just kept that one book. I've not, the books I've DNF, I just don't rate them. And I'm a slow Goodreads, I'm really lazy with Goodreads, so I don't really add them until I'm done with my review. So that way, if it's a DNF, nobody knows, and it's smarter that way. What about you, Steve? You do the same?
Yeah, I try and just move on from it and I just take it off the list. And it's funny, John, you mentioned about Goodreads and keeping track. I'm like Mihir, I'm really bad about updating Goodreads. I just don't check it that often. And I kind of don't. I mean, if it weren't for how valuable it is for the authors and to get the word out there, I would never be using Goodreads if it didn't have that. It just
If I wasn't an author, I would not be on Goodreads at all.
I think it's also, I can't tell you the amount of times I've read a book or watched a film or something, and about halfway through the book, film, whatever, realized that actually I had taken the whole thing in a different context. Like something was very clearly satire to me about halfway through the book. I didn't realize was satire before that, and actually changes the whole framing mechanism for how I'm being critical about that book because of the genre that it, or what it was trying to do. Like I see, unless you get part of the way through the book and actually come through it, how are you to know that?
Yes. So that author actually contacted you, Mihir, about your DNF shelf?
We saw it, and he was like, to be fair to him, he was polite, but it was odd, right? Like, what do I say? Like, and because and I think this was years ago, so I don't remember if it was his debut book or if it was his second book, but of course he took it personally because he was like, "Well, why did you DNF it?" And I was like, it didn't work for me. It's not a bad book. It just didn't. I couldn't put into words like what didn't work. And he was like trying to focus, like, was it the characters? Was it the plot? Was this? And I was like, everything. It was a typical medieval fantasy, and it just didn't work. Like, how do I tell you how do you tell a person like, "Hey, this book is just not for me"? Like, I know you wrote it with like this intention. It fell flat for me, and that happens sometimes. But yeah.
I'm surprised he contacted you. I wouldn't have.
I know, but I've been lucky that way. Like, I've had very few negative author interactions on Twitter or through the blog. There's been like maybe 3 or 4 total. So, but it's just like that taught me a lesson really quickly. Like, do not show DNF books on Goodreads. So that's why like I just have that one book still, and after that I've not like added any other book to it. What can you do, right?
I did have one author reach out because I had finished it, but I forgot to add a rating on Goodreads because I'm really bad about that. And so he contacted me. I was like, "Hey, did you finish my book? Did you not like it? Did you DNF it?" I'm like, "No, I just haven't given it a rating yet, but I will. I'm behind. Like you know, I I think it's tough sometimes to keep up with all this stuff, and then I just forget about stuff. I just forget about Goodreads reviews sometimes. So but no, he was somewhat polite about it, but it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll get to it.
Yeah, I think that like for me, I can't there's a lot of books out there like this, so I just hate regular like traditional fantasy a lot where it's kind of more tropey and a lot of it's predictable. So uh that doesn't mean the books are bad. It's just if I know that everyone's going to be safe at the end of the book, and I know that like basically if I can tell you what's going to happen and that's what happens constantly, uh it's just not for me. And I know that that's like a big genre and very popular. You got a lot of your big hitters are fall into that mix, and the hot take is I don't like those. But
Yeah.
so like that would automatically be DNFing for me. But like Mihir said, it's not a bad book. It's just not for me.
It's just hard to describe that
was
sometimes.
talking-
Like it just doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
I
I think
was talking about this with my wife earlier on, actually, about self-pub in general, about how sometimes when you have and been through reading trad pub for years and years and years, there's a sort of beat and formula. Like every so often, you'll have to have some major set piece or something go through it. And often with self-pub, those rules are thrown out the window. So you kind of go in blind a lot to actually what the author's ever trying to do with you and play with you. And, you're not waiting and going, well, something like this is about to happen because it mightn't have been written like that in any way, shape, or form. So I always think that bit's really, really cool to kind of go in with like a blank canvas of narrative style that wasn't cherry-picked and picked apart by somebody.
Yeah, definitely. How do you choose what to review next, Nick? How do you pick out of your pile? Or do you have a schedule?
I have like it's like a weird schedule. It's not an official schedule. It's kind of like, I request so many things, and then I usually read things in the order I request them. So if something comes in, that I requested before a book that I already have, I'll read that first because, I don't know. It's just weird. It's all jumbled up. Sometimes I mess it up, but I try to keep it in a sort of order. It's like a chaos order. But yeah, that's basically it. It's just I kind of have them lined up, and I use Goodreads as sort of like a filing thing where I know which ones I have on deck, and then I just pick from there.
I have a question for I guess all of you guys, but when I was trying to get my book out there, I was very selective in who I went to and asked. So if someone was like really small on Twitter, I reached out to them, and similarly on YouTube, if they only had like 1,000 or under, basically I'd reach out to them. And then anyone that was like really big, I just didn't even bother because I assume they're flooded. Like me here, I didn't even go to you.
I bought your book though. I bought your book because I saw it somewhere and the blurb really captured me. So
yeah, you told me that once, and I was
John.
like, oh my god, he did. Yes.
I don't turn down. I'm sorry. If you're going to give me a free book.
Oh, okay. I figured so on Twitter I had this rule where if you had over a certain amount of followers, I
I'm
just
just
didn't
kidding.
even like send to you because I was like they're so busy now. I can't imagine that they even want me to ask. So that's kind of like why maybe some of the bigger people I haven't bothered. I did send a book to Mike's book reviews and also Patrick Leo because I know that they also do the book hauls, and I sent them with no expectation that they'd read them. Now, having said that, Patrick actually put me on his TBR, and I guess he was interested enough by the art, and the character list really got him. And I think I saw that he did read the first chapter and judged it good enough to continue. So it did pay off. But just being in the book hall alone, on Mike's book reviews, I think I sold like 20 books that day.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And then same thing for Petrix. I was on just a book haul and I sold like 16 books or something. It was crazy.
Wow.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's only 99 cents, so it's not like I made a killing, but just getting that many books out there was huge. So I definitely advocate people, ask them if they're interested. Because when they do their book haul, I got all those sales. But otherwise, I just assumed you guys are all really busy, so I just don't reach out.
Not at all. I mean, not that I'm not busy, but I never, anytime anyone wants to give me an arc, right, Mihir?
Yep. Especially if it's interesting. Like if the blurb is interesting.
I mean, because like
I'm a
even
sucker.
if you ask and I'm swamped, and
Yeah.
I'll be like, yeah, I'm not going to get to it for like 4 months, but yeah, I'd love it. I mean, I definitely wouldn't turn it down. Let's put it that way.
Same thing for me, David Gemmell. If somebody just mentions David Gemmell in their blurb, like this book is like David Gemmell, I'm like, damn it! I need to get a book copy of this book or an arc of this book. Like that's just disturbingly how stupid I am. But I guess
I've never read him, so I have no idea where I rank on the Gemmell scale. I don't know much about him.
he's heroic fantasy. He's in my mind, he's the best heroic fantasy writer ever. Like dark fantasy, but with hope and excellent characters and dialogue. Like he's just brilliant.
Are you talking about Gemmell?
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Regante is like,
Yes.
oh my god, it's like one of my top series ever.
Dragante, Drenai, John Shano, the Troy trilogy.
And
like,
it's 4 books, so
Yes.
it's like perfect. It's not too long. Like what is it, the Drenai series?
Drenai, yeah.
That goes on for like 13, 14 books. And
Mhm.
the thing I loved about Regante was it was like 4 books, boom, boom, in and out, and it was just magnificent.
Wow. My book series is also 4 books.
Well, there you go, John. You should send me.
It's just like Camel. It's exactly like it's for.
Is it like Go?
Yeah, the reason I did 4 books is because I got really sick of seeing trilogies everywhere.
Oh.
I think they work. I think trilogies work fine. But I was like, well, I didn't plan actually a certain number of books. I actually originally thought I'd do 5. But as I was writing, it was like, I don't think I can get to 5. So I'll go to 4. And I kind of planned out what the books are going to somewhat be. I'm not a plotter, so that could all change. I have a few major events like planned, so I know how it's going to end. I don't know who's going to be there when it ends, but I do have somewhat of an idea. And so I liked 4 just to be a little different. I know that plenty of people have series of 4 books, but I don't know, something about the trilogy just didn't speak to me for this series, I guess. Having said that, in the world that my book takes place in, Sedain, I think I have like 13 books planned. So it's 2 different series and then a couple standalones and like a short story anthology and stuff. So but they're separate series. But yeah, I don't know. The trilogy format, you get the first book, which is usually set up and often really good. Then the second book is either way better than the first book, or you get that middle book syndrome, and then you have the conclusion. And so I figured maybe I won't have a middle book, and it'll be excellent.
So Mihir, we understand you have to hit the road, but thanks for coming by to hang out with us.
Thank you so much, Steve, and thanks everyone. Hope to see you all soon. Have a wonderful
Bye,
evening.
my friend.
Take care,
Yeah.
Mihir.
Bye, Mihir. Take care. Cool.
I love Mihir. He's great.
Oh yeah, he's
Oh, man,
wonderful.
he's awesome.
Yeah. Our friend Shadi is here. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hey.
And Austin, I feel, John, I'm trying to avoid a trilogy for that reason too.
I feel like that's just I was gonna say formulaic, but there's so many differences in everybody's trilogies. But it's just something about the 3 books that I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in the respect that it could go either way. It could go like the middle book is a slog and it's just kind of nothing happens, or like Robin Hobb's Farseer, where like Royal Assassin
Oh,
is like
God.
the best book in the series, right? The second book, I thought anyway. I thought it was obvious. The most stuff happened. It kicked ass, and it was great. So
I just discovered. I didn't discover Robin Hobb this year, but I just started reading Robin Hobb this year. I was
Yes.
turned off when I heard
Okay.
she was first person, because I'm not a big first person fan. I'm very particular about first person. Um, and I finally took the leap, and I read the Farseer trilogy one after another. I was so into it. It was so good. But yeah, the second book in that series was spectacular.
It
I
was
would give.
unreal.
Yeah, the first 2 books, I know Mihir doesn't like it, so it's good that she came up now. But
How can you not like Robin Hobb, man? She's
I
great.
gave the first book 5 stars, second book 5 stars, and then the fourth book 4 star, or third book 4 stars.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what happened, but that one really kind of was sluggish.
It was really slow for like the first 400 pages.
Yeah,
And it was like really slow.
very
But
slow.
her writing's spectacular, though. I mean, from page 1, it's like butter on page. Like, it's just anything could be happening, and I'd be like, this is just magnificent.
Can't wait to start the Live Ship Traders series.
That's my favorite series by her.
I have the first book right over here. I have 2. So I mentioned earlier in the podcast that my brother and his fiance are here. I'm not reading anything while they're here because it's like impossible. But I have 2 series that I want to read as soon as they like leave, and so I want to
Close the
read.
door, book in hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna read. I want to read the Live Ship Traders trilogy back to back again. I don't know which order I'm doing these 2 series, and then I want to read the. I forgot what it's called, but it's the Peter McLean.
Oh,
Is that his name? Peter
War for the
McLean?
Rose Throne.
War of the Rose
Yeah.
Crown.
So I want to read those 2 series. I have the first books of each over there.
Cool.
Aaron had a comment. Good advice, John. Book hauls are huge. Mike always gets huge view numbers and is exactly why he shares indies. Even if he can't read them, he hopes he can give them some exposure.
Yeah, Mike's just a really cool guy anyway.
It is.
I talked to him a little bit on Twitter here and there. He's just a cool dude.
Priest of Bones, yeah. And then I read Priest of Lies, which is pretty good too. I haven't finished the last 2 though yet. So that series. Have you read that one, Nick?
I read the first 3 books. I haven't gotten a chance to read the last 2 that he put out, but yeah, I definitely like it. It's good. It's dark. It's violent, which I enjoy.
Awesome. That sounds good.
Does that mean I'm going to like your series, John?
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Does that mean I'm going to like your series?
My series is weird. Like I said, I advertised it as Grimdark. I said, like, when I advertised it, I said it's like Joe Abercrombie meets hard magic system. Someone actually said my magic system is reminiscent of Brandon Sanderson. Whether that's true or not, I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying someone said that. So I don't know how dark it is compared to a lot of Grimdark. I do some pretty nasty shit though. But it's not like, I don't know. Some people say that I don't write Grimdark. Other people are like, this is the darkest book I've ever read. And I don't understand how we have these 2 opinions, because if it was the darkest book you ever read, why are there so many people also saying I don't write Grimdark? So I don't know.
It could be someone
It's
who's only
interesting.
read like Terry Brooks or something,
Who knows? I don't know.
I have some interesting theories in this going through it, because that comment's in my head obviously when I'm reading it, and I think I sort of understand why, because it is some really nasty stuff in it, John. Like, there's no doubt, and in fact, I would just see your first 2 chapters. I would just put your first 2 chapters out there, because I think it gives a very good idea for for who you are as a writer. You know, that it's very, very clear. This kind of dark humor that you have in real life actually comes out completely on the page in a lot of ways, which I think is a really cool part of it. But yeah, but overall, it sort of doesn't feel dark all the time, if that makes sense. You know, the story that you're telling, and but it's punctuated by these things that happen. Like, and sometimes once a couple of things happen, you go, "Oh God, I can sort of feel what's going to happen here." Oh no. And then it happens. So, you know, maybe it's the overall tone of the books. Or certainly, like, I'm only up at 160 pages or something, and so I'm not massively into it at the moment. But it definitely has moments in it where you go, "Oh, Jesus." In fact, I was trying to go through it and kind of punctuate, you know, the comments with like what my internal reaction was, and there's just too many of them. I just had to give up.
Yeah, I mean, my theory for writing it was I wanted to include like dark stuff, so really bad things happened, morally gray characters, and realistic consequences. But I didn't linger a lot. So if something terrible happens, I didn't like describe it in like super visceral detail. I don't think. And actually, the one scene that you know what I'm talking about when I say that a lot of people have DNF'd it, I never thought that would have been a problem as much as it has been. I say a lot of people, it's maybe 8, I don't know. So several people have DNF'd it. And it's all at the same spot, and it's always the same reason. And I was flabbergasted when the first person told me that, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think that was like a DNFable like thing, because something awful happens, but it's not like described in like a glorious, detailed like
it's
manner.
like 3 or 4 lines.
Yeah,
it's like 3 or 4. It happens, and it's shocking, but it's
supposed to punch you in the
done.
gut.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah.
But some people took it way more harder than I actually thought, and so, you know.
It's cool.
Johnny had a question. I don't like Sanderson. Will I like your book?
I think so. Well,
Nope, you'll hate it.
Yeah.
it depends
Just
on
stop.
why.
Don't read it.
It depends on why you don't like Sanderson. I personally think, for myself, Sanderson is okay. I have come to the conclusion, I think that he's overrated, and the reason I
hot
say
take.
that, yeah, it's a hot take. The reason I say that is because I really liked a lot of his books, and I don't remember any of them. So I read First Law when it first came out. I remember so much about those books, and I don't reread books. The fact that Sanderson, every book I've read by him, just fades into obscurity, makes me think that either there's something that's not gelling with me, or I don't know, it's just not sticking. And I always have good times reading his books, except for the last 2 Stormlight Archive books. I thought both of those were incredibly boring, and I loved and devoured the first 2. I know that's a hot take too, but I just thought they really kind of slowed down a lot, and I'm like, does this need to be a 5-book series? But I don't know.
No, I'm going to agree with you on the Sanderson thing, and I'm, I don't like to say this out in public too much, because the Sanderson people come after you hard. But yeah, I tried, what is it, Mistborn, and it was I just couldn't get through the first book, and then I tried Elantris, the standalone, and no, I don't know. It just wasn't for me, And like you said, like the Abercrombie book, same thing for me. Like from the opening pages, it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is just unlike anything I've ever read, and it just brings you in, and it's just you can't stop reading it. And I never felt that way with a Sanderson book. It's just It seems to just go off and meander and kind of. I'm like, okay, it's epic, and it just goes on forever, and I just don't feel like anything really happens. But that's just me. Okay, send your hate mail to Nick Borrelli.
So just to touch on the previous comment, by the way, I saw, no, because I'm not stupid, right? He is super famous and super well known, and he does an amazing job. He's my favorite author, Abercrombie, but so I'm under no disillusion that I'm anywhere close to as good as him. But when I wrote my book, I took it from a very, well, I like to say that I took it from a very Abercrombie-esque way. A lot of people that read it are like, he's like Abercrombie, but not really also. And so I guess that means I added my own flavor in. But I think if people like Abercrombie, they'll like it. I also like, I like to say I took the character kind of stuff from Abercrombie, where I tried to have strong, like, different characters, and then I melded it with, I don't like to say this guy's name because everyone hates him, but Martin's like world, just vast, big world, because I just really like the whole like huge world, cool characters. So the Trials of Ashmount is 5 POVs, and each POV is like a separate book in the first book. It's a whole separate story, and they very slowly kind of start to like bleed into the other POVs. And that's been a huge point of contention. I've gotten a few people that are like, does anything ever meet up? And I'm like, yeah, just keep going, because it's 5 countries and each character's in a different country. So I don't like, yeah, it's gonna take a bit, but they are coming together.
And Aaron said we'll give Sanderson a try. Maybe. Here he's a bit wholesome and not sure that's the vibe I'm looking for.
I think Sanderson's fine.
He's good.
I think he's a terrific plotter. I mean, he's very much about stuff happening and events happening that will twist. Yeah, but much like he should be writing TV series or something. It's almost like the end of an episode kind of thing he's going for all the time. You know, the cliffhanger to push you on the next part. And I find that fun to read. I don't think he's a terrific writer in terms of prose or anything. He's very functional. But, I mean, I quite enjoy everything I've ever read.
I mean, somebody likes him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
A couple
He's
people.
selling a lot of books.
Yeah.
To be
Sure.
fair, I'm awful at writing prose, I think. So I wouldn't criticize him for that, because I feel like that'd be hypocritical. But prose is not my thing. I like to be simple and inject my witty, sarcastic type of humor, I guess you could say. I don't know.
So Aaron's
Unfiltered comments.
Aaron had a comment. Very humble, John. Thanks for the insight into Ashmount. Everything said so far makes me glad I'm reading it soon. So Aaron's
Well,
reading
thank
with
you.
us. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
And our friend Tori from Tori Talks is here. Hey, Tori. Thanks for
Hey.
coming by. And Chowdy has a question. Does it have a cliffhanger ending?
We're talking about Ashmount?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a hot button, because some people say that the book ends with like the biggest like cliffhangers. Other people don't seem to think that. I wrote it and I ended it, and I thought, great, all these things are resolved, and now the stories are very clearly set up. Like, there's no major cliffhanger. Like, I don't stab Nick in the chest with a sword and then it goes to black and you don't know what happened. So I thought that I resolved the major like plot points in the first book, while also having things that happened that are certainly cliffhangers. So like, you're like, oh my god, this just happened. Now that's obviously going to be the plot for the whole next book. Like, cool. That's what I was going for. Other people say, oh my god, what a cliffhanger. Like, now I have to, wait. So I guess it depends on what you call a cliffhanger. For me, it's like, I thought it was a very normal series first like book ending, where the world kind of, some big stuff happens, and then you have a promise for more big stuff. But it's not a cliffhanger in the sense that I would call it, where you're like, oh my god, is this person dead? Is what just happened like what's going to happen there? I feel like we ended, like, if you're looking at a movie, we ended the scene, and now we're like, the next scene is going to be in the next book, right? So I guess it has cliffhangers because it's a series.
This
I
stuff
don't think-
happens, and
It's not a
the worst
standalone
of the
book.
told.
Yeah, it's not a standalone book, and if you don't like that, then don't read it. If you're okay with like a normal series, I think you'll be fine. I really don't think that there's anything in there that most people would consider a huge cliffhanger, but I've been wrong before, so. Oh, awesome! Thank you.
Yeah, Charlie's gonna give it a try, and we are reading it together. Charlie, if you want to join us to chat with John about it in December. And Tori talks out a comment. Agreed, Sanderson is wholesome compared to other styles, but he's a fantastic world builder.
I think his best quality is actually his magic systems. I think he always has some wildly interesting ideas. I think my problems with him lie in mostly the storyline. Kind of, it seems like a lot of meandering, and that's okay. Meandering's fine. I'm just a more faster paced type person most of the time. I guess Robin Hobb and George R.R. Martin aren't fast paced, but I love them.
I was gonna say, it was in my head.
What was the last book you read, Nick, that you really enjoyed?
Was it Empire of Exiles by Aaron M. Evans?
I've never.
I mean,
that.
That was really good. I think the thing I loved about it was the world building was it was great, and there was a cool history to it too, which I love. I'm a sucker for like this really cool made up history that is like, deep and really complements the world building. And I thought that it excelled on both those, in both those regards. Yeah, I mean, it was a really good book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It was, excellent.
Oh. What about you, Chris? What's the last book you read that you really enjoyed?
I'm in a really good run at the moment, and a lot of it we'll be doing together. So, like Nemesis games, etc. We'll be talking about. We'll talk about Wrathbringer. I loved Wrathbringer. I'm reading Trials of Icemount at the moment, which I'm really enjoying. Just about 30 pages away from finishing Augustus by John Williams as well, which is I've been doing sort of along as well, which is so different from anything I've read before. We've got epistolary kind of format and kind of stuff, parts of history I know nothing about, but it sort of doesn't matter. But was quite hard going for about 100 pages, and then once you kind of get into the rhythm, it's only about 300 pages. So those are kind of everything I've been going for a while, and they've all been good. So I think I'm on one of those, you get those runs where you go, I can't pick a bad book. This is good. We're just everything I read is good, and then you think or maybe it's just my state of mind. It's just in a really good place at the moment, or.
Yeah, I think a part of it is we just kind of, well, for me anyway, I think I've gotten better about choosing what I read because I know what I'm going to enjoy, and even if a book is popular and people talk about it, sometimes it's just not what I'm interested in, and I won't force it. If I know I'm not going to like it, it's just not what I'm into. So I think that helps too. That we're, yeah,
definitely true.
But yeah, it's been a good run. The Dandelion Dynasty, man, really good.
So I hear.
Really good.
I've heard mixed things. I heard some people really love it. I've heard some people thought it was really boring. I haven't tried it. I haven't looked anything into it. So I don't know anything about it really.
Have you read that one, Nick?
No, haven't.
It's hard to keep up with all these books, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. It's not one of the 1,000 that came across my path recently.
I've said one of my favorite things about booktube, book Twitter, all that kind of stuff is the amount of people that are doing their TBR plans for 2024 at the moment is just absolutely insane. Just this concept of putting plans together for 2024 is what you're going to read then is just, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I can't plan that far in advance.
I can't remember where I saw this. I think it was on a stream maybe, but it was like Mike's Books Reviews, maybe Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative, and I can't remember who else. There might have been one or two more that do this. But they schedule like all their books that they're going to read for their reviews and stuff to plan out their content for YouTube, which I guess makes sense, but I think I'm more of a mood reader. Like, I don't think I can plan to read. Well, so that's, I don't know. I'm confusing myself here because, yeah, if it's dark, if it's grimdark, if it's going to kill and have blood and gore and swearing, I'll read it. I don't need to be in a mood. Like, that is my mood always, grimdark. If it's something else, then I think I have to be like, okay, prepare yourself. This isn't grimdark. So that's kind of like how I work, I guess, because my constant is grimdark fantasy. If I'm not reading grimdark fantasy, then it's going to be a struggle for me to like it. But that's not to say that I won't like it. It's just not guaranteed, right?
Sorry to comment. I've read a ton of Sanderson, enjoyed it in a lot of aspects, but I don't know that I'll go back for a while. One of my favorite of his wasn't even fantasy, and that was Legion: The Many Lives of Stephen Leeds.
I've never read that one.
Haven't read that one. Yeah, haven't read any Sanderson. So,
if you're going to, Mistborn Era 1 is usually like cited as the best point to jump in. But then there's also the Stormlight Archive. And the Stormlight Archive is, well, the first two books I thought were amazing. I think those are the best books I've read by him. And then the next two books I really didn't like. So,
yeah, all the people who recommend books to me that I really love, they all tell me stay away from. You're not going to like it, so don't read them.
I don't think you would like Sanderson based on what I know you like, but
Yeah.
stranger things have happened.
Yeah, there's too many books to read. So you had a question for John. I can't read books just for pure enjoyment anymore. Can't turn off the author brain. Is it the same for you?
Sometimes. So it's for me, it depends. It's typically a writing style issue for me. So if I see a lot of filler words, that just bogs me down.
Yeah.
Like, please no. Repeated usages of one word can like also annoy me. I think those might be the only two things that seem to have developed since becoming an author. I think before I was an author, I was already really critical of a lot of things that bothered me, like characters acting weird or stupid, or what's that trope? The miscommunication trope, where all you need to do is have a 5-second conversation and the whole plot of the book would be resolved. I hate that. I've always hated that. So I think for the most part, my author brain is off when I read. I think the only time is when I notice like writing style issues that I would definitely change if I was writing it. But as a shitty writer, that doesn't happen often because I'm not great. So
Cut it out. Cut it out. Tori Talk says the same problem too, and Chadia, she's the opposite. She has to be in the mood for grimdark. She just finished Forgetting Moon, so now she's reading an Indian myth retelling. I like switching. Yeah. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask Nick about the Eagles. Are you worried about the Eagles after the loss?
Ooh.
Yes.
Is there any concern? What
I always
concerns
worry
you?
about the Eagles.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, it's fine. They are what they are. They're 9-1. Come on, man. Nah, they have some like any team, they have some issues. No team is perfect, and just gotta iron those out. That's all.
In some ways, I think it's better that they lost because the whole.
I think so too.
So
They
sometimes
needed
it's
to get
like
their butts
that's-
whooped. Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good loss is good, and they're fine. They're going to be okay.
I think they're going to be okay.
I'm a Commanders fan, Nick, but I still think the Eagles are the best team that I've seen actually play. And I've actually seen a lot of games as well. I think they're the best all round team. They can have their days, just like every team. Like I spent most of the season thinking the Commanders were just the most god awful thing to watch. But if somehow you find an identity somewhere in the middle of it that works for them, like an awful lot of teams do. But the Eagles are strong everywhere, I think, somewhere. Along a lot of talent. So
I just think when you've been a fan like as long as I have, there's always that trepidation. I mean, I'm so used to being like disappointed, so I'm constantly looking for the negatives, and when I get the positives, it's a surprise. So I'm still, I'm waiting for that other shoe to fall. But yeah, they're doing great, and I'm just I hope they stay healthy, and that's really the thing. You got to stay healthy as a team and get lucky, and hope that you go into the playoffs hot, and then you have a shot.
Yeah, you never know what can happen, but looking pretty good.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah, pretty good. And Chris, is American football popular there? You said you watch it, right?
So my dad started me watching it when I was about 5 or 6 years of age, and from then I just every Sunday has just been from 6 o'clock right through to about 3 in the morning has been just a mecca of just watching and watching and watching. So from like when I was younger, Super Bowl would start here about 1:30 in the morning. A lot of times, and depending on what coast, etc. was on. So I used to have to go to bed during the day when I was at school, and then get a sleep in during the day to wake up at night to stay up and watch the Super Bowl at night, and that started. And then, of course, the advent of real live TV came across and all that kind of stuff, and so you can just watch it all night. It's fabulous. So, like the Commanders-Eagles game was the Monday Night Football game there a couple of weeks ago. I just had to forgo sleep that night and go to work the next day and do a 12-hour shift. But
oh wow,
I fully intended for the Commanders to get rolled over that game. But as the game progressed, it became clear it wasn't going to happen. So there was no sleep. But it was worth it. It was good.
Those divisional games, you never know what can happen.
It's tough. It's tough to beat a team twice in the same year.
Yeah.
Like, and there's all these teams in our division, I mean, are good, and we know each other, like the Giants and the Cowboys. I mean, right now, NFC East is the best division of football, so it's going to be tough.
Pretty good. Another comment. I can't read very good writers while I write, or find myself trying to write like them. Frustrating stuff. That's why I can never be a writer, because everything I write would sound like everything else I've read. So I can't do it. So respect to all of you authors out there. Must be tough to do it.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people have that issue. I have I don't think I have that issue. I do know that when I was a kid, I was very impressionable, so it was like the last thing I saw often kind of found its way into my writing. And I might have said this story before, but I wrote like a whole bunch of first draft of a cool thriller type book that I was handwriting. I brought it to school, gave it to my friend, was like, this is it. I just wrote something awesome. And he opened it up and he was like, all right, let's see what you did. Read the title, started laughing. I said, what? He said, read your title out loud. So I did. And he was like, is that not clicking with you? And I was like, no. And he was like, read it again. And I did. And I realized what I had done. And it's that I was writing the Chronicles of Pierce Brosnan. Yep. So my main character was Pierce Brosnan. And did not realize that the entire time. It was also about a secret agent. So.
Come a long way.
I hope so. Because that's pretty bad.
Hard. Original stories are hard though. Like they don't exist by and large.
Right. Even things that have a lot of originality in them. I mean, I always cite Harry Potter as one of those things that have like a lot of originality and creativity to it. But even that, there's so many tropes and cliches, and that's probably elevated because it's also YA for the most part. But even anything that's original has a lot of inspiration from somewhere. You can see it. So it's like almost, I think it's impossible to be original, like a fully original. You can have an original world, but your story beats are going to hit all of your story beats. You can't have original story. I don't think you can write it in an original way. You could have original characters, but you're not the first person to kill like your protagonist. You're not the first person to have the villain win. You're not the first person. It doesn't matter what I say. It's already been done. So I think it's just the way and the style in which you do it, and you can definitely usurp expectations. You can definitely surprise people still, but you're not original. That's a hard fact.
Yeah, it's tough. Lots of books out there too. Lots
Right.
of books out there.
Yeah.
But the time always flies when we're doing these. But I know it's just look up at us 2 hours later. But I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your Friday night to come and hang out and shoot the breeze. Chris, if someone wants to get in touch with you, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, you can find my YouTube channel at my name or on Twitter at 7 o'clock Shadow.
And Nick, where can people find you and your blog?
Sure. Out of This World SFF. And you can find me on Twitter, RVWS. I don't use vowels. There you go.
And John, where can people find you and your work?
Twitter at a grim bastard, and you can get the Trials of Ashbound on Amazon. It's only 99 cents if you get the Kindle version. So even if you hate it, it's not a big deal.
John will stock your Goodreads.
No, I won't.
Just
I-
kidding.
I feel like putting a page update now and not updating it for about a week and a half now just to see you.
Yeah, I won't contact you if you hate it, but I might if I know someone's reading it and I know their Goodreads account. I might keep tabs on where they're at. Mostly because I'm excited for different plot points. It's like, oh, he just got there and I forgot what page. Once someone gets to page 100, I know they hit that like around the threshold where I'm expecting like them to either stop or continue, and that's always an exciting time or nerve-wracking.
Yeah. And just so you know, we are reading John's book here in a meeting in a couple of weeks, so anyone's invited to hang out with us. And Sadir, thanks for coming by to hang out with us too. If you ever like to join, just get in touch with me and we'll set a date to come and hang out and we'll hear about your book. So if you want to find me, you can find me on page 2 in our forum and our blog. So come by and say hello. I'm a terrible blogger, but it's there. So so I'm way behind. But thanks everyone for coming and hang out, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Fun. Thank you.
Take care.